No. Video.
Yeah, so Terrence is driving right now, Makeda. He's going to try and see if he can take some video.
I watched also the video that you had.
Terrence, your audio is not coming through at all. So if you can try to
and that kind of thing, and I guess Jeff Thompson.
Terrence, if you can hear me, your recording is garbled. So let's see if we can maybe get you to a better spot, because I know you're driving. But can you try, let's do a test, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if you can hear you right now. 1, 2, 3, Terrence, go. Wow.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, all right. Can you start all over again? Because we heard nothing you said before now. Okay, let's.
Yeah, when you started recording, it disconnected my Bluetooth.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll edit out anything.
Let's,
okay, all right.
So,
okay, go ahead, Terrence.
I was saying that I've been involved in quite a few productions, and been working with various students and getting folks hands-on into call it digital media production, and I think that's what the opportunity is that's immediately in front of us, is to produce something for Black History Month. The Venues of City Club, we bring in a crew to produce content, interview folks, but I think there's opportunity, as Kevin Lee's laid out, for a production assistant capability that might meet with various folks. I think the thing that I would look at is there a pool of folks that you bring with me now on Monday really to make something effective happen? And if not, then how do we do the right thing to produce? The idea here has been producing content on a regular basis, and then having folks be able to matriculate through that. If I understand correctly, there's something like 120 hours that folks could do to sort of learn, be trained on a process. And hopefully at the end of that, they have at least some team skills, some basic skills on being part of it and be around production elements. That's the thing we've done, I don't know, for the last 10 years, right? Produced various and sundry events at places and things, stream them, broadcast them. And my current job, I've been working in technology and digital media, monetization, content production. So certainly well connected in those spaces, but I think, running through what it takes to set up, break down, and pre-produce an event. And so I guess the question would be more about, are there folks we could, work with in that environment, playing, I guess, the role of a production assistant, that makes sense to the folks that you're trying to serve?
Right. So it's a couple of things. So the first thing is getting young people between now and Monday to commit to something like this probably isn't going to happen. But if you have any post-production that you want them to be able to work on, then if you let us know and give us enough time, we can provide our agencies with the information, and then they can see what young people are interested, and then we'll be able to get you, a few young people that are going to be able to do it. I guess that the thing about it is that we have to look long-term, right? So you mentioned the 120 hours. So 20 hours is the work readiness, and that has to happen before they start working with you. And so if we have this opportunity and we know that you need people, then we would need to at least have a 2-week runway, so to speak, so they can complete their work readiness. That's if they haven't already done it. If you have this opportunity and there may be some young people that have completed their work readiness but haven't been placed in an opportunity, then they might be ready to go and they're just waiting on something that interests them. But there's no guarantee that there are young people in the pipeline like that. The other thing is, when we talk about the 100 hours, right? When you're planning an activity for the young people, it would be preferable if you already had 100 hours worth of work that you knew that you wanted them to do, and it was concrete and not like kind of like, oh, for this project and that project. That's where it becomes difficult, because when you're talking about these young people, many of them have they may be in school, they may be parenting teens, they have things going on. So it's difficult for you to they're not going to be on call, right? When you meet with their case manager, they're going to ask you to complete a worksite agreement. So depending upon whether you're going to have them working on site or hybrid or remotely 100%, you have to put that into consideration. And then when you work with their case manager, the case manager is going to try to get you to nail down a schedule for the young person, because the young person needs a schedule in place before they can commit to the work. And they also need to know exactly where they're going to be working so they can iron out any transportation issues that they may have. Because again, the young people we work with are high barrier, disconnected youth who have a lot on their plate and need a lot of support to be able to be successful in the work experience. And so a lot of these things, like, we have to have a plan up front. We're not like a temp agency where it's like, oh, I need somebody for Tuesday, can you get someone? That's not how it works, because the young people, they're not able to move.
No, I get you. It's a program. If I understand correctly, then it sounds to me like, so I got a couple of questions before I lay out what I was thinking. So in that terms of, in the 20 hours, that's work readiness that you take care of once they decide that they want to work and they're interested, and you would sort of get them through that process so they could be ready for the 100 hours that we would have them work on. But they would have already sort of done this because they selected that they wanted to work with us. And you're saying maybe there's somebody who's completed that hasn't selected something, but the chances of that are pretty low. And so we should expect, we need something where you can get a person, let's just say 1, 2, whatever the right number is, through their 20 hours, then have them ready to come for us for 100 hours. And then how do you see that best working? Do these, I mean, because I've done this in a world where you say, okay, well, we can do 2 hours twice a week plus then an 8-hour shoot after we do that for 2 weeks, right? And to me, that's, 16 hours in 2 weeks or something like that. Or 3 weeks even, or 2 weeks, probably get, is that the pace at which this moves that you think people can commit to? How do you see that laying out to get through to 100 hours? Because we could craft that schedule, but I think we'd have to really understand what people would really commit to. Like, will they commit to 12 weeks to get 100 hours, or do we need to get 100 hours within 4 weeks to try to figure that out?
Yeah, it depends on the young person. We have programs that are 12-week programs that, get to the 100 hours. We have some that are, the young person finishes it in 3 weeks. So it just depends on the assignment and the structure that you put in place. And then that young person will determine whether they have 12 weeks to give to a project, or if they don't and they want to finish it quicker. And the other thing is, depending upon the age range you're looking at, if they're minors, they really can only work, 3 hours, 2 hours, a day, right?
Yeah. We need older people than that, I think.
Yeah. So if you want to work with adults, then you're really just trying to, so 18 and up, you're really just trying to figure out what their schedule looks like. If they are in school, community college, or in a GED program, or whatever they're doing, how many hours a day do they have to, dedicate to that? Some of them also have other full-time jobs because they have to support their families, but they want to do this because they want to have a pathway to something. So they have to work with that schedule as well. And then there are other young people who aren't doing anything and would just love to be a part of something like this. And they would say, you know what, I can do 5 hours a day, 8 hours a day, whatever you need until the project is done, or until I get to my 100 hours, I'm there for you. So there really isn't a way of determining. I think what you have to do is decide what you want your program to look like. I know, like, when we worked with Facebook, they had a 12-week internship. So it was it was a 32-week training, or 32-hour training, 32 hours of training, and that took about a month. They were able to do 8 hours per week. And then from there, they had a 12-week internship. It was a little bit over 100 hours, but what they did was they broke it out to 12 weeks, and that's what the young person committed to if they decided to complete the entire project successfully. If they didn't.
How many people did you have go through that? I mean, because I like that model, and I think we could make something fit. I mean, if you believe that you would have enough people willing to commit for that time frame, right? I think, can we hold their interest for that amount of time without people falling off?
That's the question, right? Because with Facebook, we started out with 368 young people and ended up with 130. Because that's a long
drop off. It's a long time.
The attrition is huge because it's a lot of things that factor into that, right? Yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah, they had a lot of fun doing it, and yeah, they were getting paid for it. But where was that person, that mentor, to hold their hand and keep them committed? And a lot of some of the Facebook interns didn't have that with the agencies that were selected, and some of them did. And then some of the young people that were selected for Facebook weren't a part of our system. They came from outside and just wanted to do it. And so they didn't really have a relationship with the case managers. And so it was hard for the case managers to hold them accountable to see themselves through the process. And so we're doing something like that right now with the county. Their DTD, Delete the Divide, and they are working on other technology coursework for the young people. So with that one, it's they do a whole, the county's offering the young people a course through Coursera to get certification in some kind of technological programming or whatever it is, IT space. And so when they finish with that certification, then they're able to participate in a county funded internship that's 240 hours, right? Because the county's paying for it. We're not paying for it, the county is. So the county is allowing for 240 hours for this particular internship. With this internship, the young person, after they finish their coursework, they're going to be able to earn more than what we're willing to pay, because we pay minimum wage, right? The county's willing to pay more because it's a technology internship, and they want the young people to understand that if you go into this field, you make more. So even as an intern, you should be making more, so they can get that idea in their head and perhaps take advantage of more coursework. The more coursework you take, the higher the pay will go if you continue to internship. So what they'll do is they'll work the first month, the first like 120 hours with the county in-house. And then in the second half of the internship, they'll push them out to Apple and Google and others, knowing that they have the foundation to be successful, and they also have the coursework. And so with that, what we've decided was, initially, we're not paying the young people for the coursework because the coursework is expensive and they're getting it for free. So they have to show us that they're committed before we even move them into the paid opportunity. And so that's how we're managing, that's how we're trying to stop the attrition that we saw with Facebook, because we paid for everything with Facebook. And at some point it became like, I don't really care about the money. I don't want to do this anymore. Right. So with this, we're getting the buy-in from the young people with the way that we're doing it this time around. The buy-in, they're committed and they want to do it and not getting paid up front. So how committed are you to finish your coursework? Once you do that, then we're going to put you into this pathway and you're going to
and pay you more because you put in that course. By the way, I love that idea. I mean, you know, so we did have a class on digital media. I did it at community college. There's 1 credit, you know, free, whatever. I mean, I think there is something like that, right? Where you have to get somebody who's committed, and I can, you know, we can make it quick. You know, you can make it in 4 weeks, right? To really get people committed, to see if they're there, to get them down this path. And then I think there's a mix here of technology and production that are hopefully interesting enough, because, you know, stuff that we're producing, we're trying to stream. We, you know, I know how to monetize. I mean, there's things we can add that would be relevant in a CTV in the latest, you know, realm of content, right? So you're not just producing for producing, but you're producing also learning how the new world will function in terms of distribution and monetization. And that's the things that we would teach up front, right? Just so they understand the concepts they'll have to be part of moving forward, right? And then I think there's a few roles here that come out of it. You've got your production people, but then you've got their technical counterparts who are, some of them are doing editing, some of them are doing the social media or the monetization or the website building for where the content's going to live. And I think we could potentially come up with that. I mean, While We're Young, we're talking about for the 28th, but I think this is a sustainable path. If you talk about what we could try to test, call it in Q2. If we're successful in Q2 with a great cohort, right? The idea would say, how many folks do we need to matriculate through this to prove that we could do this and then grow it the next quarter, right? So, because I'd rather take on 10 really committed people or 20 committed people and then figure out how we scale it. But because I think we'll lose it if we don't, you know, if we go too big too soon or we don't get the right feedback, right? So anyway, that's how my head goes.
Yeah, but I think proof of concept, I think typically we would do like 10 to 25 young people to prove like whether this is going to be something that's going to be successful in the future. But I mean, just for Kevin, I connected you with Brotherhood and Inner City Arts and others. You can feel free to reach out to them to say, listen, I need some young people that are ready to go to do this kind of work. Can you put me, you know, can you patch them in? And they will pay for them to do the hours of work that you need, and they'll be able to do that. You don't have to go through like the whole system just to get young people to work with you. But in terms of doing a project like this and do proof of concept so we can move young people into this production space and being able to monetize and all of like, that's important. I don't want to lose that. So if we can come up with a plan to get something going, a pilot of, you know, like I said, 10 to 25 young people, and get something going, looking at time frame, you know, how many hours would it take? What should we be paying for? What shouldn't we pay for? Like, how do we get the commitment going? I think that that would also be great, because I want to be able to say that we have a pipeline into production for young people, editing. You know, obviously we have social media with all these other, you know, partners like DTD, Facebook, that we are already working with, well, Meta now, but I think it would be great though for us to be able to say that there are these different kinds of aspects.
Who's DDT? I'm drawing a blank.
Delete the Divide. They're the county. It's the county's internal services department. They also have like a subgroup called DTD, Delete the Divide. And it's a group of, you know, county workers who see the need to provide digital access to young people. And so they're working with big companies, the Snaps, like all these people to
Delete the Divide. How long have they been formed? And
this year, we just started working with them.
Okay, that's probably the program that, do you know Misha Johnson? Okay, yeah.
No, the director or the person over that is Selwyn Hollins.
Okay, yeah, so we've been working with the LA County Arts Education Collective for almost 6 years now. So that's why I've had Greg Johnson on, and the persons that kind of operate for the county and helping to provide kind of the mesh point for all these organizations. They came up with something that was an integration of arts and tech. And it was called, I can't remember the name of it, but I took that playbook as something that I wanted to be different than just the film and TV companies who didn't see the value of bringing tech into, or at least integrating it in so that students could be multidisciplinary. And so we now know that it's more important than students learn, you know, both left and right side brained opportunities to, you know, push buttons, pull levers, not just code, because coding is not even important anymore. Mm-hmm. All you need is engineering, people to do data, because AI and machine learning is going to take all the coding away and all the programmers. So we're trying to keep ahead of the curve, and where I think people need to be as competitive as possible to get into these companies, you know, without having, you know, a lift from a program. It's great to have a program, but we want to make sure that people expose these things so they can make informed decisions on where things are going. So what we're doing on the 28th is we're going to introduce some of these people, these faces, some of these personalities who are going to talk about opportunities to work in their projects, because most of them are people who are working in corp, but some of them are also teaching classes. Some of them are mentors, but they have the ability, I think, to sew together everything that we're doing to show that you can learn how to learn differently, the new skill sets that we believe are more futuristic, and where people can be not only getting a living wage, but also can, you know, start to imagine that, hey, you know, we're going to have to start doing more DIY research on things that we've never been exposed to before. And so that's why the 28th is important to us. So now I want to just flip to the event, because at the end of the day, you know, we want to take this event and share it with as many people who are willing to learn or be exposed to new tactics and techniques to get into the new emerging creative tech economy. And that's a big thing to say, but that's our attempt to make sure that if people tune in with the link or just log on, they will get a chance to see some of these people who are willing to mentor them.
Can we get into the database of potential students, and then we use the 28th as really a show and tell? I mean, the thing that we can do, because we have a small location, we can shoot these 3 sessions. People remotely can view that, but what that really is to get people to raise their hand to say they're willing to go through the free part of the class and then commit to the program. And is there a way to, if we could get that out, and certainly you can record it and get it out, but anybody who could join live, that might be a good usage of the 28th. to introduce it to potential students, people who we're after, so they can raise their hand and become part of the program and commit to the, say, 4 weeks of education on their time in order to qualify to get to this next level that we lay out. But I mean, I don't know. Do you think that fits with what you're thinking?
So, I mean, we could advertise for the 28th, right? So that we can figure out, which agencies are what. It depends, again, on the time, because of young people.
Makeda, right after this call, we've been talking in parallel universe to Leo. We've done site visits.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we looked at 2 different parts of their program to see if we can engage their 2 programs, their radio station and their cyber cafe, and integrate that into what it is we're going to do on the 28th. So we're going to be talking to them about, what students that they can find who can actually get something out of this experience. But more importantly, I think we have a budding relationship or partnership with Brotherhood Crusade.
Good.
And that one only because Leo just said, hey man, I'm in. So I'm trying to find some other people. Holly gave me Jaslyn, but that's only, response we've gotten this far. So I'm using the 28th to see if we can find other people that, will say, all right, well, let me see if I can envision my students, my program, working in an environment where we're collaborating, but more importantly, our kids, if they're vaccinated, if they can, do background checks, they can actually get these IMBD credits. They can actually get the hands-on training, working on content that Terrence and I are going to take to the marketplace. And we chose the 28th of February because our content is Black History 24/7, 365. So we didn't want to miss the Black History Month and miss the opportunity, to promote.
I mean, there are other agencies that I know would have young people like Yo Watts, but their director is out right now. And I can connect you with Clarence Scott, who actually used to work at Brotherhood, but I hired him for Watts. I can connect you with him, and he will probably have some young people that would want to attend. There's also WLCAC, Adriana, who did respond to you, but didn't come to that meeting.
She said she couldn't find the link. I mean, everybody else did. She said, well, is it still going on? I mean,
Well, and what we want to do is get them to participate virtually, right? Because we would give them a link. I mean, in person, we won't have a big spot, but it would be great if some of these leaders of those groups, as well as representatives, could at least tune into the link on the 28th for a session or a piece. I think it would go a long way, and I think we can use a lot of that to do some show and tell about what the program can do, right?
Okay.
We'll show the behind the scenes, right? We'll be able to show, see this broadcast, because just like Kevin sent you the pictures of the green screen stuff, right? When you saw the broadcast, the finished edited product, it's way different, right? It's got music, and so we want to show, well, yeah, we went from here to there, and there could have been a team of 4 to 6 folks who could have gone on that journey with us.
Okay.
And, so we want to illustrate that part however we can, just so show and tell, right? Here's what's happening in the room. Here's what you're seeing on the screen. Like, pull back the curtain so that people understand we're just not producing this to talk at you. We're producing this to show you that we can build a program that can produce this on a regular basis, right? The end game we talked about with Leo was, can we get a weekly podcast out of his facility?
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. But I think that would be great. And I know that Watts also built a studio and they're city managed. I'm the one that kind of oversees the director there. They also built a studio at their site, and they are all about getting information out to young people and doing podcasts, small, short films, things like that. But the director there has a love for it, and that's why he does it. But it would be nice for him to partner with. It would be nice for him to partner with.
We need.
Well, let's give him a program, but let's turn this passion into a program, right? I mean, if you have passion, let's put a program around it.
Right. And the thing that worked, I think, for Leo and I and Terrence, well, we had the Zooms, but yeah, he invited me to come out and see the facility, and I came out and saw it. It makes the difference in the world. If somebody sees that there's some interest in our part, we'll come out and visit to see if we can convert their space and integrate it into our network of student-generated content, because that's what we're all about.
Well, we'll go shoot there. You know, I
Okay.
mean, that's the bottom line.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I can give you is access to these people. And on my word, they'll say, okay, come on. So Leo was the one that said, you know what? I want to do this over here. Makeda introduced us. Let's get it rolling. I typically just hand off to them to make it happen, right? I do the intro and then I'm like, all right, who's going to jump on? Some of them do, some of them don't. What I can do is go back out to WLCAC, go back out to Yo Watts, and say, listen, this is happening. This is an opportunity for young people. Let's perhaps create a pipeline of young people that could come through and work with you, you know, Kevin and Terrence, to make something happen. Yeah. And then perhaps do something on their own to where they can have a weekly podcast or something going on in the community. Because I know that Watts used to do that. Yo Watts, when they were not in Watts, but they were in the Valley.
This 28th is a proof of principle for us to collaborate, to daisy chain people so that they can have a template so that they can take to their own constituency, their own cultures. This is not for us to, and that's what it is that we're trying to do, is to try and show them that they can do it with, you know, somebody that is volunteering to help them bring subject matter experts in the areas of streaming and monetization. We've got blockchain, we've got augmented reality, immersive media. We've got all the things that are growth areas in, you know, where things will be when these people, you know, are looking for, you know, the living wage and expecting it. We need to expose them to this so that they can get, you know, some understanding that it exists, and they can start to be brave enough to start pushing the tech and handling it.
Okay, we also have mentors who are in the business, right? So I was mentioning, you know, Jeff Thompson. Jeff I've known forever. His brother was my best man in my wedding. But he's another brother. He came from Disney. I mean, he's the real deal, and we know each other well, right? And Jay Tucker, who's been around in all these other programs, or myself, I would just say there's a piece behind the piece that's part of it, right? It's not only preparing them for what's coming, but also introducing them to folks that can help them if they truly want to go down that path, right? Okay. Not everybody's going to get to that level to get one of us to mentor them, but we have networks of people and can put them in situations to have the path that we took. And we're doing this because we want to see more people who look like us come down this path.
Right. Absolutely.
However that story comes across, you know, so I do want it to be, that's the thing, right? I want to invest, but I need to see that they're going to put in the time and effort to match that investment with product. In our world, it's product, right? You put out content, we know how to get paid for it, we can own the space. It's just getting people to show up every day thinking about how do we get something out, how do we produce something, and it's a fun thing to do, but it takes a serious commitment, but it can be lucrative. And that's what's missing, right? How do you connect those dots?
Right. And Makeda, last thing is I want to share with you a folder of the work that Dana is contributing and will contribute on the 28th. This was our methodology to not just take her on as a production assistant, but to give her a producer's role and let her earn that role and learn everything that she has to learn in order to, you know, make this a successful project. She did the job description that I sent to you, but some of the other things that you'll see in the folder, the flyers, the posters, are her interpretation of how this should go out to another young person, 21, 22, 23 years of age. So what I'm trying to always do is get more student voice and agency. So there's not a whole bunch of, you know, teachers and trainers and old heads talking to them, but there's young people.
So the folder from Dana, you're saying I could send that to like my contact at Watts or at WLC?
Yeah, she's a producer on the show. And we have other young people who are going to be front and center. So when you look at this show, when you market it or advertise it, this will be a production, you know, generated for students by students with overview from people like Terrence and other mentors in the business. So it's a student production. We call it Brown Bag TV because we really want it to be something that has more student facing, but can be delivered from a perspective of lunchtime where nobody's taking a class at lunchtime, at least on the West Coast, and we can drop 15, 20-second nuggets on people produced by students. And they can blog and vlog and send the social media out of things that they're not only producing, you know, are produced, but are planning on. So we can actually start to invite more people to get their not only points of view of what kind of stories and information can we work on for the next project, but that's really what it is that if we don't have that real-time connection with other students peer-to-peer, it's never going to work. And we haven't launched it because our partners in the community colleges, well, COVID killed us. We were working inside of Kevin Hart's studio in production. We were working with AT&T. We were working with Sony. And we haven't been able to get back into those studios. So right now we're doing what we have to do based on what we got. And, you know, again, where COVID will allow us, we're going to still have some physical productions and still show people how we do workarounds.
Okay. All right. So
I'll send you the Dana's folder, which I have the new poster that could become some of the things that we advertise or put a press release about. But it's open to anybody to, you know, look at the broadcast. We're still looking at, you know, several different ways to distribute it. Everybody knows Zoom, but we're also looking at another platform where people can learn more broadcast type ways to look at these kinds of presentations virtually, so they're not just bored to death looking at talking heads. So those are the things we'll be experimenting with.
okay. And then I guess I'll get the information out to the 2 agencies I mentioned, maybe 3, AYE South, I guess Catholic Charities. Now, I guess the other thing that I wanted to figure out at some point is, so what does it look like going forward for, like, can we get a scope in terms of how many young people are you envisioning for after the 28th to be able to take part in this kind of program? So we said 10 to 25. What's the timeline? Right. When do you want to get going? When do you want our agencies to start recruiting? Right. That's the main thing.
So I have one question you asked me at the beginning when we had the first Zoom where Shoni, I had another Terrence on, and I think one of your partners, or was it your boss? When we had that first conversation, you asked, well, how many students could you really engage? And I said, well, I have to get back to you on that. Well, in a perfect world, because of the how we're structuring this thing, how many students could log on is really how many students we could serve. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of them could actually learn and earn money by doing things virtually, especially things I know I need every day, like data entry.
Sorry, my daughter. Do you want everyone to see you since you're over here dancing?
Yeah, she does.
No, no. She said no.
Oh, okay, no, she does.
Do you not see I'm on a meeting? You're just gonna bust in here. Teenagers, I tell you. All right, slide on by.
Teenager, you got a teenage daughter? You look like you're a teenager yourself.
And she's my middle. She's my middle. I have an older one, a boy. Oh my God. And then I have the baby that you always see running around in here.
Yeah, I've heard her. Okay. What kind of Kool-Aid are you drinking? Okay, so
listen, not some good Kool-Aid because I don't know about my choices. Right.
Well, so the thing that, so your answer is,
but here's so I know you just said how many can log on, but just thinking about Facebook and trying to ensure that our attrition rate isn't high, it's not just about how many people can log on, it's about how many can you engage and keep engaged for the duration of whatever you're trying to accomplish until we're able to pay them. So right. So that's really the question, right? Because I think the sell at the end of the day is going to be, you come into this space, you work and learn, you learn with these people for X amount of sessions, and then you start to earn with these people for X amount of sessions. How do we, and then after earning with them, you also get IMBD credit. Like I said, typically we do a pilot is 10 to 25 young people, because the mentorship piece is going to be huge to keep them engaged, because, you know, just like anything else, it's not always the money that's a motivator. And we found that many of our programs, they're great, they're high interest, but they still have high attrition rate because the young person needs that connectivity to that other person that's going to keep them grounded in the process and keep them going. And if they don't have that,
right,
they're kind of like
so a project like we have on the 28th, which is really focused on us delivering content in this ethnic studies business plan that we have. We're, going to be champions of the African-American military timeline and African-American history, but there is a business plan. So we know that there's going to be a lot more work there than it is on the 28th. But what Dakar has tried to become, and what I am, is a clearinghouse. We have a huge network of other people who have projects and are looking for, and maybe it's more philanthropic, that they're looking to give people opportunities. So in a perfect world, I want to know what happened with the Evolve Entertainment Fund, because at the end of the day, we could be like an Evolve. We don't have the mayor, or we don't have, Ryan Reynolds, but we have a lot of other people who bonded together.
Ryan Murphy. Well, now they're with Ryan Reynolds. Yes. Listen, I wouldn't want, if I were you, I wouldn't want to follow Evolve just to be
their model was great though.
Their model, great, depending upon who you're talking about them serving, because they really didn't serve our youth. They didn't.
Well, whose youth were they serving?
Their own. They were picking young people, cherry picking, basically young people who already had the credentials that they wanted. Perhaps they were, low income or whatever, right? But many of them were not, and many of them did not come from the neighborhoods that we serve. And then they were telling us that we needed to enroll them and pay them. And then they also had money that they had initially. This last year, we put up all the money for their program. In years past, they brought money to the table, said they had enough money for 85 slots, which is a lot of money, to be quite honest. They had enough money raised for 85 slots. They wanted 85 slots allocated to one of our providers to enroll and run the young person through the process, the work readiness, so they can then have them back for 100 hours. Again, it wasn't a program that I was fond of, because they didn't give the young kids in our neighborhoods a chance. They didn't. They worked with the young people that they wanted to work with and then forced us to pay them through our workaround. That's how they were able to do that. They gave us the money. We gave the money to one of our providers, and then they forced the provider to enroll the young people that they wanted. Some of them college graduates and all this, that most of them, prominent young people who they wanted to just take back and have them do the work. For me, that wasn't ideal, because I would always go to Evolve. And even now they're working with Ryan Reynolds. I just spoke to them like a week ago, talking about planning for next year, and just explaining to them that at some point you need to work with the young people that we work with. You can't keep pushing young people into our system so that you can turn around and pay them. You need to actually, if you're giving us this money, which now they're not, right? We have the money. But in the past, when they were giving us money, they wanted to also dictate the kind of young people that they would be able to enroll into the program. Now that they're no longer giving us the money and we're giving them the dollars to run the program, I'm telling them, now you need to take our kids. So allow young people from this agency that you're partnering with to apply for this opportunity so that they can have this experience they wouldn't necessarily have otherwise.
Here's the question, I guess. What did work? I mean, they got 85 slots. They got 85 people placed, right? Well, what does that mean? Placed? What's the data from those placements? Those people stick? Are they still working?
Oh, I don't know. We don't have we don't necessarily, when it comes to higher LA, we don't necessarily follow up years after to see where the young person is. We don't, the city, right?
Would you guys
Evolve followed up, and they were able to provide us with some data, but it was, high level data. It basically just talked about how many young people that were in poverty that came to them, how many females versus males, how many companies they work with, things like that. It didn't say like after were they retained, what was a conversion rate from intern to actual employee. It didn't have that, or maybe it did have that information.
But is there like a final report for what it is that
they had? Not really a final report, but they have like a yearly infographic that they submit to us that shows the young people that they're serving, what they're doing, where they come from, some demographic information. It's basic demographic information. It isn't like really, it doesn't necessarily show the impact on the other end for those particular young people.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is one of the philanthropists is a data management person. As a matter of fact, he's one of the presenters. His name is Jeff Thompson. He's an instructor at USC Edinburgh and Marshall School of Business, but he's also VP at Oracle, which is a data company. And so I asked him if we did anything and our offering, could we take a data set and provide a report that shows what works and doesn't work for any of the experiential things that we're doing? And is that of value, you think, to anybody in your organization, is to find out what happened with any of the people that you currently have or the people we onboard?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
The impact is what matters, right? The demographic information we can pull ourselves. In the past, we couldn't, which is why Evolve provided it to us. But now I'm building a system that we can build that information ourselves. What's important is, like I said, the impact behind it. So how was it impactful to the young people that were in your cohort? Where are they now? That's what we really want to know. And that's not, I don't believe, something that was shared. Or like I said, it could have been, and I probably
I've just been doing a lot of research on their successes, and I only see one piece of video, which is a video they did at Sundance on the Evolve Entertainment, video capture and sharing.
Yeah, so they used to be with Ryan Murphy, now they're with Ryan Reynolds. And like I said, I don't know. It depends. So you're looking at them as a good example for what? What are you trying to get out of it?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work to make because I think the things that I read on their website looked like they were well intended, and they had some of the things that were milestones that I think need to be met for organizational collaboration, especially. I like what the premise was. But that's what I've been having Dana look at to figure out, well, what could we do differently, not only in our marketing, but as kind of our North Star, what could we be telling the rest of our mentors and organizations that we want to do, as opposed to just trying to get a few people placed? I mean, we want to start with proof of principle, but we think we have the capacity to bring more people, even to Evolve, if they were interested in collaborating with us, who could work underneath a pretty good focused idea of what could raise the tide so all boats can float. I mean, so that's what we want to do.
I think that would be a good idea. I think the first place for you to start would be to not cherry pick the candidates. So if you're able to show the impact, a regular homeboy on the street that has this as something that he wants to do, he has no experience, and then you take him.
Those are our strengths. I mean, we're in South LA. We started in Compton, Inglewood.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what they're missing. They don't have stories like that.
We got that. We got that.
Okay, so
that's why we resonated with Brotherhood Crusade, because we, some of our people want to work with the least of us.
Right. Well, that's what you have to do. I mean, there's nothing, if you're able to do that, I think that you'll already be a little bit above where they are, because like I said, their process to be an intern was a little rigid, right? And so they kind of shut out a lot of people that maybe could have been successful in that space, but they didn't have whatever they didn't have 2 years of college, they didn't have this, they didn't have that, and so they weren't able to participate. And I think if you're able to remove those barriers and open up the door to young people that show that they have the intent and the passion to do this work, and feed them with the knowledge and information that they need, and then turn them loose and let them soar, I think that you'll have a better storyline or more impact than what they have.
That's what it is. That was our original thought process, is to work with the homeless students, the LGBTQ, the system impacted, the foster care.
And we have all of those.
And the single moms. Those were the modalities we were working with the county. The LA County Arts Education Collective said that, hey, we want arts for all. And we wanted to be able to bring those folks into the creative economy. And then we wanted to bring in, the tech part. And that's where we always were, especially with the community colleges, because those are the people who are the least likely. And those are the people who literally are falling off because they're not even going to classes anymore, because they're not learning anything. 60% of them are basically dropped off since COVID, because they just are turning their video off, and they're muting their mics, and they're turning their assignments in maybe down the road, but they're not even. So there's a huge problem that we want to solve, because we've done the work there, but we really want to see more people like us band together. That's what we're trying to do, you know, not just on the 28th, but regularly trying to find people who do have the heart. So, okay, so yeah, we're going to talk to Leo in 5 minutes, and based on what comes out of that meeting, will become more of the poster and the press release.
Okay, and
Okay.
then with regards to getting more young people interested and, you know, for them to be a part of what you have going next, if anything, I can, and I don't know if you have time to meet with Clarence or Adriana, but I would suggest that you meet with them.
If you give me a telephone number, I'll go out there this week and make a visit. That's, you know, right now my mom is at end of life, so I have nothing but time.
Sorry to hear that. Okay.
So
Okay.
I've got time to travel and meet people and do as much as I can to convince them that I come in peace.
Okay.
Okay? So if you send them my cell phone number and text me, or you text them, I can do site visits and we can, you know, we can meet each other.
I will send an email to both Clarence and Adriana. I have a 4 o'clock as well after I finish my 4 o'clock. And then I will CC you on the email and just let them know, like, hey, I'm circling back. This is going to be a great opportunity if we're talking about, and what's the buzzword? Should I use like production and digital media?
Well, when I send you the folder that Dana, because Dana's driving this conversation. She's driving the marketing on this.
Okay.
So yeah, so whatever she thinks could be the buzz, I think that's what we'll go with.
Okay.
She's doing a panel and she's bringing 2 young people from Vegas with her. So I don't know what they're going to be talking about, but we're having 3 main panels from 10 to 3, and you know we hope that all of them will invite somebody to see themselves in the panel discussion, so it's not even closed. So instead of them just, you know, watching, we're still looking for more people who want to be virtually part of the panel discussions.
Okay.
Takeaways.
Okay. All right. So how is Dana doing? She's doing well?
Well, that's why I wanted, yeah, Terrence said to drop off. Terrence apparently donated to her production. She's she's finishing up some production right now that they're shooting in Vegas. And so Terrence donated to her production, and I think she was doing such a great job with me. I just dropped a whole bunch of stuff on her, money, so that she could have, you know, enough to just stay focused on everything. So why don't you ask her how she's doing?
All right, I'll text her.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm friends with her mom. I don't.
Yeah, she told me. She told me. We wanted to know everything. She told me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. All right. So I will send you again from this meeting with Leo. I'll give you the latest and greatest, and then I'm sending you Dana's folder right now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.